We have Ethereum once again getting rejected at the top side of this ascending trend line, and we have yet again another lower high. Crazy, another lower high and a series of lower highs and lower lows that might even be called a downtrend. So our reversal conditions were of course not met yet again, and well, the blue box of peace and prosperity is the last hope for the Bulas here. Here's the thing though, while I see that you did request a daily and a 4-hour, it would be very relevant to be looking at a weekly and a monthly here. So I will go over that as well. But for right now, probably coming into a bounce relatively soon, at least for the short-term timeframes, similar to Bitcoin as well, right? It's probably going to have a bit of a short-term timeframe bounce, and then we'll come back to it after that, I guess. But for right now, you're coming into this region at 33 to 3400-ish, which we kind of marked off before as, it's a major area to be aware of. And for right now, I would be looking for it to kind of grind out this region, do something like this, spike it a few times, and then give a bounce. Here's the problem though. As long as you're below your breakdown area, the same area that we had marked off from before, which I will now move over here at 3600, it's just another lower high, man. And it's hard to get excited about something that looks like this for the time being, especially as long as Bitcoin is correcting as well. It's just unwise to be bullish on basically anything else. And what I do want to reference on the 4-hour, actually before we move into the higher term timeframes, is that yes, you are going to start to build up some bullish divergence here. These are really fucking extreme reads, but yeah, probably does produce, at minimum a nice bounce. Let's call it anywhere around about 30, somewhere above 3,500 or so. I wouldn't get too aggressive on something like this, of course, until Bitcoin really starts to show some strength, obviously. And where can we now move down the point of upside resolution to as we bounce off? By the way, I just realized this. We're also on the 200 simple on the daily as well. So again, a likely bounce point to be fair. But no longer would I have to wait for 4130 in order to get bullish on this thing. We can now move it down, which is, it's like a double-edged sword. It's like you move it down because it's weak as fuck, but you also don't have to wait for 4130, or at least I wouldn't have to wait for 4130 in my own strategies for a resolution above about 3850 in order to get bullish on this asset for moves back up into the deep 4,000s and probably 5,000s overall. And to be fair, you are still kind of holding this reversal-ish pattern, but as we stated yesterday, the problem with these sort of reversal-ish patterns is that you can be walked down in basically to infinity along these along these trend lines, and as long as you're creating the lower highs, there is no reversal to be speaking about at all whatsoever. It is a bit of hopium, but in this case, we are getting pretty damn far down there, to be fair. So I do want to go over the weekly and monthly on this one, just because I imagine we're probably on some major areas, and the weekly says more further down. Barring an epic bounce back above about 3,700 in the next like 3-4 days. The weekly is pretty fucking wrecked. The 5-day does suggest a little bit lower, somewhere around about 3,200 for the next major bounce, like on a higher term time frame, that is. And the monthly, I imagine, is actually in the same region as well on the 9 exponential right there. Here's the problem with the monthly though. You are starting to populate 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence right there. So while I would be looking for at minimum a bounce around that 3250-ish region, if that does play out, and this would assume that Bitcoin probably breaks well below $40,000 if this were to happen, you're probably going to find Ethereum somewhere in the mid to upper 2,000s. I'm talking with somewhere around about 2,600 or so if that were to happen. But for right now, to give it a chance. Obviously, short-term timeframes more in a bouncy posturing right here. Bounces up to like 3,550 to 3,600 are completely fine. Doesn't really do shit for trend. And well, I think I'll just leave that one right there. Obviously, we can go look at momentum as well just to see. And let's see. Actually, I just have it plotted on over here. So let me just do this the more easy way. And again, we're seeing higher-term timeframes. Having these major corrections here. 4,000, the magical number on the 5-day, and the weekly is actually still has a lot of room to go, so fair enough. 4-hour is coming down hard as well, and daily is freshly down. Okay, maybe a bit of a short-term bounce, but I wouldn't be so I'm not so confident on the long term on this one. I do think that you probably have one more move to the downside, as does Bitcoin somewhere around about $40,000 give or take, and Ethereum somewhere down around about 3,200 give or take as well, overall, and just a short-term time frame in betwixt there. And I imagine that even the daily I did my bad, on the daily over here, we're actually not even going to have a chance to create regular bullish divergence on the daily RSI just yet as well. And in my experience, it's really not wise to be looking for major lows until you do have at least 2 drives of bullish divergence on the daily, and preferably even more than that. I mean, for example, the last major macro lows that we saw on Bitcoin were back on over here in the summer, and you did see like 4 or 5 drives on those lows. To be fair, it was pretty damn impressive, and eventually did play out. And I think that we're probably doing something of the same accord as on that as well. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Ethereum, sir.